I cut my hair. So I'm not the first to talk about this, but Senator Elissa Slotkin of Michigan has been making the rounds. This CIA agent, Israel-loving, did 2 tours in Iraq or something. That's what the Democrats need. With politicians like Zoran Mamdani popping off, it's time to bring the kids back to the Democratic establishment with the coolest skateboarding senator you've ever seen, kick flipping her way into the hearts of Americans. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore, but there was a contentious appearance she had on Breaking Points with Krystal Ball and Sagar Enjeti. And just yesterday, from when I'm filming this, she went on The Colbert Show and she missed a vote on sending arms to Israel to do it. She says that she would have voted against it if she was there. So remember that. Let's get into it.
Give us some of your thoughts there about the future of the Democratic Party, and particularly in the context of Mamdani's victory in New York City.
Well, I guess as a good Midwesterner and Michigander, I'm never going to say that what happens in New York City represents all of America. Sorry, we're a big country, and
Shut up.
I would never pretend to totally understand New York City politics. I didn't particularly understand Eric Adams. I didn't particularly understand, I genuinely, right?
Okay, well, to be fair, no one understands Eric Adams.
The message and the hot take out of that election is actually not terribly dissimilar from what we heard in the November election when Trump won, right? Which is people are still focused on the cost of living and not being able to achieve what they thought they could achieve, right? And then number 2, people are looking for a new generation of leadership. I don't think it's hard to miss those hot takes. I can have plenty of disagreements with what I've heard Mr. Mamdani propose, and I do. But that message coming out of that election...
Okay, so, all right, so she comes along. How old is this lady? Friggin' 50? She's 49 years old. Okay, that's not, like, crazy old, but, like, you're going... We need a new generation of leadership. I'm 50. Check my shit out. Well, so it's a new generation of leadership, and people are so focused on the cost of living. So that's why I disagree with everything Zoran Mamdani said. We see what's important to voters. It's affordability and not being a million. That's why me, an old person who doesn't want affordability, should be in power. Fuck off.
What do you disagree with?
Just, my family was a 4th generation hot dog business. Like, I am here because we live the American dream through capitalism.
Okay.
And so, like a lot of...
How many people in your fucking farm town are still there generations later? Capitalism worked for my family. It made us rich. So that's why I don't believe in socialism. And I don't even believe in improving capitalism for anyone else. All the people I left behind in my shit-ass podunk piece of shit town should just stay there and die there, poor.
A lot of free stuff, to me, is not the answer. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think that it actually fixes the underlying problem.
A lot of free stuff doesn't fix the underlying problem. Okay, so let's try something here. What's the underlying problem that Zoran Mamdani's trying to address with free childcare? People need childcare because they have fucking jobs and shit, and the available childcare is insanely fucking expensive. There's a lot of reasons for that, I'm sure, but most of the things that are unaffordable to people mostly come down to price gouging. They can charge what they charge, so they do. They can charge this much, so they do. But if I'm even going to be maybe a little more charitable, everything gets expensive at the same time because, like, if important resources become more expensive, then, like, yeah, the childcare place is going to charge more for childcare because they need to stay afloat. But also, we're talking about things run for profit. Anything that we're fucking talking about, childcare or anything else, has to pay rent to landlords, right? And the landlords are really the ones jacking up prices, price gouging people. So childcare is too expensive. So Zoran Mamdani would have the state, or the city in this case, either run or set up and just, finance childcare centers. So there is no profit motive really with the city running it. So they can charge nothing or very little. They can, make it at cost. Let's get the government back to a balance of 0 to run this fucking thing. Now people can afford childcare. All right. So now maybe, let's say, a 2-parent household with 1 child was really struggling financially before, and they couldn't afford the private childcare. So one of them didn't work. That way, at least, one of the parents got to be home with the kid, but they're probably barely making ends meet because things are so expensive. Now, if the other person wants or needs a job, they can do it. They can go to the low cost or no cost child care center. So you could say we've solved the underlying problem of childcare is unaffordable. But if you really want to get into okay, well, what's the underlying problem of the underlying problem? Again, it's the landlords, it's the rent. The city or the state needs to take back some of the fucking land that these landlords own. They need to put in price controls. They need to penalize landlords who are price gouging. They need to break up or even better, seize corporate landlords like BlackRock. Get this land out of the hands of the fucking parasites. And then, you can get into Zohran Mamdani's public housing plans. Well, if the city buys up some fucking land, takes it back from these fucking slugs, from these fucking swamp monsters, that's the underlying problem. If you really want to get into that, Elissa Slotkin, and really it's capitalism, but, she's not going to go there. She's not even going to go where I just went with to take some of the land back. No.
Have those disagreements. I think this is I would be thrilled to have that conversation with him or anyone else about hey, we agree that there's an economic problem here. What we do to solve it?
That's so great. I love conversations. We got to have conversations. I would love to have a conversation. We should have a conversation. These conversations are important. Fucking liberals love to fucking bog us down in conversations. It's the molasses they pour on the fucking road as a popular candidate is leading. Everyone's lined up behind them and they're like, yes, we're going to go and fucking do this right now. Not that it's easy, not that everything's going to be free, not everything's going to be perfect. No, but it's okay, but we know it needs to be done and we're going to go and start to do it. Then the fucking liberals come out and they chop down a bunch of trees and that fall into the path. And then they put up traffic cones and shit. And they're like, "Ooh, sorry, this is a conversation zone. And we're totally willing to have this conversation with you. But right now you can't go through."
And what kind of a message does it send if, this guy won the Democratic primary.
Yeah.
He's the Democratic nominee. It was overwhelming. If then the
vote blue no matter who.
Leadership of the parties, we can't get behind it.
I mean, you just asked me before we started the exact same question about the Michigan Senate primary, and I'm like, Michigan Democrats don't get involved in primaries. We all are friends. So I can't speak to what they're doing. I hope that they're meeting. I mean, if this person is...
They did.
Yeah, okay.
And Hakeem Jeffries still refused to endorse him. I mean, think about it from this context. Let's say in
Doesn't she
2028...
fucking know anything? Does this woman watch the goddamn news? Well, I hope that they're talking. They have.
Yeah.
A more moderate figure wins the Democratic primary, and a bunch of progressives, AOC or whoever says we're not backing, we don't agree with you. I feel like you would have a problem with that.
I mean, I think I will say this. The way that this party works is when there's a coalition that sticks together. That's a numbers issue. That's a data issue. And so I'm always going to be someone who's trying to find unity. That doesn't mean we all agree with each other. And I think I wasn't in the conversations where they met privately.
That's not what this is not what she asked. See, this is the dance. It's well, I believe that we're at our best when we're a coalition that sticks together. Coalition that sticks together. Okay, but that's not what they're not doing that. And it's she's not saying and that's why Schumer is wrong in this case. And though I don't agree with Mamdani on everything, I do want New York City mayorship to be held by a good Democrat. That's what you would say if you actually fucking gave a shit about any of this. And this bullshit dance and the obvious sabotage of left-leaning candidates is why I'm not a Democrat anymore.
What they debated, what they talked about, I don't know. But to me, we got to figure out what's common among all Democrats right now. And that's why I focus on the economy, because that is, to me, the cost of living and people not being able to achieve what their parents achieved is...
Okay, but you're not aligned on that. You're not aligned on that. Zohran Mamdani has the most popular and the most well-tested positions on the economy, on affordability. But you don't support those things. So this whole unity dance she's fucking doing is bullshit.
The existential issue of our time is the unifying issue of all the right wing, left wing, like Americans. I don't even think it's a Democratic Party thing. And to me, that's where I spend my time because I think 80% of my constituents in Michigan, that's where they live, is like, I just want to be able to go to Disneyland and take my kids the way my dad took me. So that's where I focus on.
Disneyland. Fucking Disneyland, dude. Oh, we gotta be able to take a fucking vacation to the most wasteful place on earth. Yeah, you notice that? How she talked, she's like, yeah, it's about unity and affordability and the economy. And then it's not about housing, it's not about rent, it's not about car payments, it's not about school costs, it's not about medical costs. It's I want to be able to go to Disneyland like my dad. My dad took me to Disneyland. Just fucking pablum. Wall to wall.
Their particular decision to endorse or not. I'm not endorsing in my own.
Right, but just
primary.
the last question on
but
that.
he won the primary.
Right, that's my question.
That's what's different.
And
By
Dor-
12 points.
They have another election though, yeah?
A general election.
general
Yeah,
election.
he's the Democratic nominee.
I see. I'm sorry. This is
Do you not know what a fucking primary is? There's no way she doesn't know what a primary is. So this is just, she's fucking playing dumb. She's going like, I'm just a simple down home country bumpkin from Michigan. I'm just a simple folk from Michigan. Do y'all have another election? How does that work? Oh, it's the primary, and then the other one. Oh, I see. She's got like straw in her mouth. Like, what are you doing? Also, do you see how this is partly the work of Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams running as independents? That muddies the waters on like what decision is even being made here. If you are someone who doesn't pay that much attention to politics, which is not what I expect from a fucking senator, but you know, if you're a regular person in New York, maybe you have 3 jobs. Maybe you live in an outer borough and you got to take the train, you know, then you're taking care of your kids and you've got a whole routine before another long ride to work the next day. And you're not up on all of this. When you hear that 3 supposed Democrats are running against each other, you might think, well, isn't this the primary? So then the supposed nominee, Zohran Mamdani, doesn't have the like institutional momentum. He doesn't have the sort of like, he doesn't have the benefit of the label Democratic nominee because the water's been muddied because 2 Democrats are running against him. The 2 top Democratic leaders haven't endorsed him, even though they're both from New York. That's how it works.
I'm just being really real with you. I don't really hear what you say if you are still supporting a genocide in Gaza. And that's for me, you know, I'm speaking for myself, but I know there are millions of other people who feel the same, that you have to at least cross this sort of moral threshold. And what it indicates to people, and I think part of why, you know, Zohran won so many people in New York City, young people in particular, but Jewish New Yorkers, people across the board, is because it was a sign of, number one, okay, you're focused on New York City first and foremost. Sure. Number 2, you're willing to take the heat on an issue that is really difficult for you, where you're being overtly smeared as an anti-Semite. And number 3, there's no, you know, entrenched interest that's going to control. You have a spine, you have principles, you're willing to stand up for something. And so, you know, I'm curious for your reflections on that because of your voting record and where you've stood on this conflict.
Yeah, well, I mean,
This was so good. Like Krystal and Sagar, to his credit, you know, I disagree on a lot with Sagar, but this questioning from both of them was so good. And Krystal really nails it. Like this is just what journalism's supposed to be like. All of it. But most of ours is.
One of the proudest moments that I had in my last election, where I just won on the same ballot as Donald Trump, was that I won a majority of Jewish voters in Michigan. We have a large Jewish population. And I won Dearborn Heights, and Hamtramck, the 3 Muslim-dominated cities.
Nobody cares.
Trump won 2 out of the 3. So I think the thing that I would push back on is the voters vote with their feet, right? We have a moment in an election where they get to decide. And there was no issue that was more difficult for me in this last, I would say 6 years, but certainly in this last election, other than this issue, because it's personal. I'm a Middle East analyst by training. And so what I tried to do and why I think I managed to win.
That's why it's personal. Do you know what personal means? The situation in Gaza is very personal to me because I'm a Middle East analyst. What? Maybe it's interesting for you because you're a Middle East analyst, or it's fitting for you to take on personal. Who the fuck are you?
both those communities is call balls and strikes, literally up to this week on what's going on.
So let's talk a little bit more about that.
But I think it's important, right? If you're going to push on me, then I think like there's one of us that's had an election and had to appeal to my voters and win. And so it doesn't.
Unbelievable. Krystal asked her to explain her past position on Israel, which is support for Israel. She's a standard fucking Democrat. She's voted to send arms to Israel. She's voted to fund the Iron Dome. She's, I'm sure voted for changing the definition of anti-Semitism to anti-Israel, voted against or didn't show up for voting down aid to Israel now that everyone fucking has suddenly realized what's going on. That's the positioning that Krystal's asking her about. And she goes, well, I think what's really important here is that I won. My position's good on it because I won. Like, who fucking cares about your election?
It surprised me at all that Mr. Mamdani won. Or actually, I didn't know his name. I didn't know much about him until he won. But because I think this issue is motivating people in a very visceral and personal way.
Yeah.
But it's not the only issue that my voters in Michigan care about. And the online world is extremely, extremely focused on this.
This is so
But that doesn't
bad.
always represent the majority. And I think
This is so bad. It's not, voters do care about it, clearly, but it's not just about what voters care about and what number it is on the list. I think she says something about that next. It's about your position on the issues and your votes and what those votes mean and how that's materially affecting people's lives in devastating ways. And these fucking liberals, that's why they go on these shows, because she thinks that this performance is going to do something for people. Maybe it does for some, but I think she didn't really know what she was walking into because Krystal fucking really went for it.
But Senator, it's not just a political issue, it's also a moral issue is what I'm trying to get to. So let's talk about those, calling them balls and strikes, if you will. So first of all, do you accept that Israel has a policy of enforced famine and starvation in the Gaza Strip?
I think I literally put my name on a letter yesterday or last night that says a policy of starvation, people are starting to starve. And in general, I served in places like Ramadi and Fallujah. I watched in 2004 and 2005, Al-Qaeda terrorists drag American citizens behind a vehicle until they died, right? Horrible, and then string them up, like a lynching.
Okay.
We still had a responsibility to get aid into Fallujah, despite the fact that we were fighting Al-Qaeda cells in Fallujah. And I have been clear about that.
So this is a crime against humanity. Forced starvation is a crime against humanity.
The occupying power has a responsibility to get aid into the war zone, period.
So
by the law of war.
See how she keeps reframing this from Krystal's going, Israel is committing crimes against humanity. They are forcing famine and starvation upon these people. She's going, yes, the responsibility of the occupying power is to allow aid into the... It's like, wow, just bury it all under fucking jargon and take away all agency and responsibility from the people in power here.
In addition, do you accept that the Israeli plan, as reported by Haaretz, as discussed openly by ministers like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, as backed by the President of the United States, is forced ethnic cleansing?
I think we have, as recently as yesterday, the Prime Minister of Israel talking about forced migration into certain areas and then potentially out of the country. That is not legal. That is not on any international standard since World War II. And I've been clear about that. So I would ask for a little bit of an open mind.
Well, what I would ask is, listen, I'm a YouTuber,
God, everything's just be nice to me. But I won. Come on. I fucking hate these people. I'm sorry if I'm coming off poisoning the well or too negative, whatever the fuck. It's just, we're talking about genocide. I don't know if I can say it on YouTube now. And it's reached this ridiculous level. And we're going to see hundreds of thousands of people die, if not 1 million or more people die, if this goes the way it's going right now. And these fucking people in our government still want to play patty cake. And I'm fucking over it. I'm over it. You don't get to support Nazi Germany and then be like, well, it's the responsibility of the occupied. Shut up. That's why. Okay. I get comments sometimes saying oh, this guy's so salty. Why are you why are you being so angry? Why are you so negative? That's why. Okay. Fuck them and fuck you.
I have my words. That's all I have.
Yeah.
But you're a United States Senator. You're not the president, but you have power. So what are you going to do? Because so far what we've seen, I mean, you voted for some of the aid that's been used to massacre children and innocents. You know, you have backed Israel, as far as I can tell, you know, from your voting record at almost every turn. You voted for a definition of anti-Semitism that would, you know, codify anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism. You voted as a member of the House to sanction the ICC for indicting Benjamin Netanyahu, who you just admitted is a war criminal, you know, by your own words. So are you going to join Senator Angus King, Senator Bernie Sanders in saying no more aid to this country that is committing war crimes against innocent civilians?
I think the first thing, if you're asking about what to do with power, and I would offer that right now Democrats own nothing in Washington. So
don't play powerless with me. You're a
not
United States senator.
I
There are things you can do.
In terms of who runs our foreign policy, I just think it's interesting, right, that there was a ton of protests when Democrats were in charge.
There was a protest in Manhattan yesterday.
Okay. I think it's fair to say, just to be honest, that back and forth, like the number of protests that go on now versus...
The Democrats cracked down on these protesters who knew what was going on, who had the moral clarity to stand up regardless of the consequences and say, here's what's going on and it needs to stop. And we're going to do what it takes, even if it gets us in trouble, it fucks up our lives. Democrats cracked down on them, brutalized them, smeared them. So now they perceive less protest. There might be less. There's certainly less on college campuses. When you fucking crushed it, asshole. You did this. And they go, oh, what happened? Methinks the students doth protest too much. She keeps saying these things that she clearly has not thought about at all. And then Krystal will be like, yeah, but yesterday that was it's just like completely just shrivels up.
This is before.
Well, they were part of your political coalition.
Well, that's
right?
I mean, Senator Slotkin,
That's fair.
Obviously, I'm here.
Yeah.
I was very upset over the Biden administration policy. And as you can tell, I'm very upset over the Trump administration policy.
Yeah.
So let's deal not in strawman, but me in the here and now.
Terms of what, so the tools that I have, the tools that we have in general, to me, the most important thing is a pressurized campaign to get aid into people who are starving. That to me is the number one, because that's the one is urgent and today.
Right, but where were you a fucking year ago? Where were you 6 months before that? Where were you in October of 2023? Where were you before October 7th?
But will you cut off aid to Israel so long as they're committing crimes against humanity?
There is a difference between a weapon to protect a country from incoming missiles versus other type. Offensive and defensive weapons are different.
So would you support offensive weapons ban? Like, would you stop any offensive aid to Israel?
Fuck off.
That certainly, to
There's
me,
no reason to send anything to Israel. There is no reason to send anything to Nazi Germany. So there's nothing to send to Israel.